Greetings and merry meet, everyone. It's me, LionHeart. I come again for another storytelling of the books. And I figured since we're only a couple weeks away from the spring solstice, it's only fitting that I could delve into that of the ancient Greek mythologies once again, about that of a certain mother and daughter duo, Persephone and Demeter. One that the ancient Greeks believed is how we had our winter and all our seasons, thanks to what happened, especially that to Persephone. And so, even when the fact that for those of you in the North Dakota area where we're in March and we still have a lot of snow, and here I am, I'm wearing a lot of green in hopes that spring will eventually come. I thought it'd be only but fitting to tell about the story of how it all happened. So, let us begin at the very beginning. Zeus, king of all the gods, had three sisters. Hera, queen of the gods, who was also his wife and the goddess of marriage. Hey, Ellie. Hesta was the goddess of home and hearth, and Demeter was the goddess of harvest, responsible for the crops for feeding the people. Hey, Christy. Thanks for coming. Demeter was loved by all the humans for her gift of soil and gentle, mild weather to grow their crops. They worshipped her for her caring and kindness. She was very much a hands-on and happy to help sort of goddess. But she would be kind of the goddess that she would be before any of the farmers around here in the North Dakota region. Persephone was Demeter's only child. Like her mother, she was kind and caring, with a happy nature and the most dazzling smile. She was the sort of person who spread light and happiness wherever she went, so naturally, she was loved by everyone, by most especially that of her mother. Demeter was like nothing more than spend hours in the company of her delightful daughter, chatting and laughing, watching her grow into a radiant young woman, seeing the ways she enchanted those who were around her. So you can only imagine what this Demeter was like when her beloved daughter disappeared one day. So it happened like this. Persephone was wandering with Artemis and Athena in the meadows, gathering flowers for Demeter. She moved happily through the grass, picking fragrant blossoms, wafting on the gentle breeze. The most exquisite perfume caught her attention. I must have this for mother, she thought, and followed the delicious scent as it led her away from her friends. Then she espied the narcissus and stooped to savor its perfume in full. Unbeknown to Persephone, Hades, the mighty leader of the underworld, had spied her on one of his trips to the world above. He was dazzled by her beauty, her elegance, and her charm. Yeah, it's common in Greek mythology, having all the gods that would have the love for another. He decided that he must have her as her wife. Knowing that Demeter would never agree to her daughter living with him in his gloomy world of the dead, he decided to visit his brother Zeus to discuss the matter. Surprisingly, the great god Zeus agreed to Hades' plan to abduct a young woman to take her to this realm. Yeah, even in Greek mythology, there was family drama, if you could believe it. Persephone glanced up from the magical bloom and noticed little birds anxiously twittering and fluttering like trapped moths in a spider's web. The sky began to turn gray, and then dark and still flutter until black. There was a deep rumble that seemed to shake the very air around her. The ground began to shift and shudder. A crack suddenly appeared beneath the surface of the earth, and Persephone watched in fear and awe as a great chasm opened before her. With a deafening boom, a hiss and a scream in the clouds of inky black, billowing smoke, Hades appeared, driving his horse-drawn chariot to black and gold. Persephone froze in shock, the freshly picked flowers spilling from her fingers. Hades leant from his chariot, scooped her up into her horses back towards the opening. At last Persephone screamed, Mother, help me! As deep down in the widening crack of the earth the chariot plunged, cavernous rocks split apart to make way. It was a world sparse light, all black and gray. Hades had led a sad and lonely life in the depths below, but now enlivened, enchanted by the fair Persephone. Could the Dark Lord be the underworld's really be in love? Using all his powers of persuasion, he pleaded with her to stay and be his bride, to rule with him in the underworld. But this was not the world in which the beautiful, bright young woman wanted to live. At first, Persephone cried and cried until she had no more tears left to weep. She refused all offers for food, for she had heard the legend that who eat the underworld can never return. So she determined not to let a morsel of food pass her lips. Each day, Hades would visit the underworld, or visit the splendid chamber that he had prepared for Persephone, bringing dainty morsels to tempt her and declaring his love. Each day she turned away, refusing to listen to his honeyed words. However, gradually she began to look around her, and she could not help admire the tasteful but lustrous decorations, the soft, silky finishings that sparkled the bejeweled surfaces. One day, as he entered, she turned to look to Hades himself, a dark, strong face and hypnotic eyes, filled with sadness, affection, and a little cunning looked back. He stretched out his hand at the grill, tentatively put it in hers, and said, "Come, my love. Let me show you my domain. Come and see the world to which you bring such light, and which you can be my queen, if you'll only marry me." Meanwhile, Demeter was beside herself with grief. Her daughter had not yet returned, and no trace of her would be found apart from the few wilting flowers. Demeter roamed the countryside, searching and seeking far and wide. At first she was angry that anyone could have taken her beautiful daughter, but soon her fury turned to sadness and despair, and consequently the earth was sad along with her. I mean, you can only think that in maybe modern terms, that maybe, like any sort of abduction, where they would have a press conference and saying, if anyone has seen, my daughter, let me know. And the days would turn to weeks, the weeks would turn to months. The crops did not thrive. The land became barren and sorrow and began to creep over the earth like a thick fog. "Who will help me find my daughter?" wailed Demeter as her arms lifted to the sky. It was at that moment Helios, the god of the sun, took pity on the distraught Demeter and took her to the truth, for he had seen clearly what had happened whilst on his daily journey across the sky, and felt sorry for the grieving mother. "Hades has stolen your daughter. Take her down the dark realm to be his bride," he explained. "What? He has dared to such a wicked act under the nose of the great Zeus?" Demeter shrieked. Helios gulped. "Remember, she doesn't know about the deal the two brothers have made." "Fair Demeter, I only tell you what I know. I am sorry to be the one, but Zeus agreed to the union." At that, Demeter's wrath knew no bounds. Anger was terrible and most savage upon LionHeart. She strode to the foot of Olympus and called upon Zeus to all the gods a hero oath. "Never again shall I set a foot upon Olympus, and never again shall I let the ground be fruitful and yield its crops, until once again I behold my beloved daughter, whom you have conspired to steal among me." Zeus, watching from high and listening upon his sister's words, became worried at how events turned out. "If the crops fail, the people will be angry," he thought himself, "and they will blame me, and then who will worship me?" He knew he had to do something. "Hermes!" he exclaimed to Zeus. "I shall send my messenger. He usually sorts these things out and manages to smooth things over." Each day now, Persephone would let herself be led by Hades and explore his kingdom. Inner sunshine lit up once the gloomy world. Her kind heart was moved by the plight of the souls first arriving in the underworld. They were lost and bewildered, in need of sympathetic help and guidance, which she would give. No less was Persephone's kind heart moved by Hades himself. His sincerity and patience were winning her over. Still, she missed her mother terribly. But she began to enjoy the company of this elegant, powerful, and doting god, and was intrigued by the idea of being a queen of the underworld. As Hermes arrived, in a distance he saw Persephone and Hades sitting together on a sumptuous couch. Hades had a pomegranate in his hand. Persephone, my love, I am so worried that you'll fade away if you do not eat. Look at this sweet fruit. Taste it just a little for Pete's sake. Looking deep into her eyes, the girl carefully reached out to her hand and took the delicious fruit to her lips. Deliberately, she swallowed just a few seeds. Just 6. Oh no, Hermes thought. I'm too late, for Persephone is committed to Hades in the underworld. If he was going to fulfill Zeus's command, he was going to have to use all his negotiating skills to strike a deal with a powerful ruler. But that was what Hermes was good at. Great Hades, he began, moving toward the dim light. Hades knew why Hermes was here, and knew that he would have to be part with Persephone. But now she had given her own free will. He also knew that she would have to return to him. She has eaten 6 seeds, Hades said triumphantly. I am willing to let Persephone go to her mother for 6 months each year, and for the following 6 months she will return to rule as my queen. And so it was agreed. Every spring Demeter makes sure her flowers blossom in the meadows, and the mountains bloom to welcome home her loving daughter Persephone. Every autumn Demeter cries, the leaves fall, the crops are at the end, as her daughter returns willingly as the queen of the underworld to Hades to her husband. And until spring, which will happen in 2 months, the cycle will start again. And that is how the Greeks believe that of the concept of our winter and summer, and the spring and our fall, is between the daughter and her mother, and the agreement that was made with Hades. And I could only just imagine if it was in real times, if it was almost like that of, almost like the reality television. But that's how it happened. So here's hoping, and especially with the fact that this is a recording, we'll be having a blizzard here in tomorrow. Here's hoping that in a couple of weeks, our mother and daughter will return. So just keep that and remind yourself that. So I hope you enjoyed your story. And this is LionHeart, and I bid you adieu. And I hope you have a blessed spring in Ostara. Blessed be.